physical activity is one of the main reasons why people struggle with pre-diabetes, because they're not moving enough. And so it's a big barrier for a lot of people because they automatically think that exercise has to look a certain way. But just as you said, there are so many things that people enjoy doing when they're moving, but they don't see it as exercise. So when we work with diabetes prevention, when I'm coaching people, we're often talking about what is joyful movement to you, and really just reframing that word exercise to joyful movement. And some people, it may not be skiing, it may not be dancing, but I had a woman who really enjoyed knitting. Okay. Now this took some brainstorming for me. I was like, okay, knitting.
Let's see, we're exercising our fingers.
Yeah, like I had to really think about this. But that's something she did enjoy, and she felt like it was movement for her because she was holding up her arms. She had to hold up the yarn and
you do something
movement
like that while on one of those walking,
I like the way you're thinking. You're starting to now say, so how can we incorporate it, right? Well, if you are someone who enjoys knitting and that's very relaxing and therapeutic for you, I don't want to take that time away from you. So what we did is we actually talked more about how do we build in movement with your knitting time. Can you stand more frequently? Can you, can you knit while you're standing? Can you put the knitting down? Take a few laps around the house. Now, that might not be a workout in your mind, but for this person, that totally worked. Again, we were meeting her where she was at, which was she really didn't want to give up that time to knit. And so we had to build joyful movement into it.
I love that because everybody is at a different place and, with different interests and different skill sets. And so the small and simple steps, no matter where you are, make a difference. Like you're just adding that, okay, what's that next little thing we can add into it? And so when you take that philosophy, whether it's, adding more ski days in or adding, a lap around the kitchen, there's always a place where you can go, where you can just add a little bit more, just that little bit more effort. And then once you build upon that, then you add a little bit more and a little bit more. And that's very encouraging when you think of it that way.
Yeah. And if you track your calories, track your steps, track your minutes, whatever it is, but having a record of what you're doing, then you'll start to see when you do add that little bit more, that it actually is adding up over time. So for example, if you know that you've gone to your doctor's office and they've said you need to aim for 150 minutes of activity this week, and you know that that's kind of the goal to aim towards, okay?
Yeah.
For most chronic conditions, that's what we're aiming for, is 150 minutes of moderate intensity activity. And that doesn't have to be all at once. It doesn't even have to be every day. But once you start tracking those minutes, if you have 10 minutes on a Monday, 10 minutes on a Wednesday, 10 minutes on a Friday, we're up to 30 minutes. And then Saturday, when you have a little bit more time, that's when you add your 60 minutes. Okay, I'm no mathematician, but I'm pretty sure we got up to 90 minutes right now. That's 90 minutes of physical activity that maybe you didn't have the week before.
Right.
And it was 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. And then when you had more time, you did the full hour. Mm-hmm. The next week, if you continue tracking, maybe you go for 40 minutes, one day during the week, and then 10 minutes the other ones. So you start to build where you can, where your schedule allows. So to your point, when you're adding a little here, a little there, if you track it, and this is what's so important, if you track it, you now know, you have that confidence that what you're doing is actually meeting your goal.
Which is so important when it comes to fitness like this, because the effects of it, we don't see immediately.
Oh, true.
It's happening over time, over often a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And therein lies the discouragement that can seep in because you're not getting that immediate result.
Mm-hmm.
And so you give up. And that's the tendency, is to give up easily or to think it's not for me or I can't do this, and to just have the all or nothing mentality and throw in the towel and forget it. I'm just not going to do anything.
Super common.
Which is why I'm sure you as a coach becomes so important and critical to help cheer someone along and help them see and recognize those baby steps and those gains that are being made over that long period of time that they maybe can't see on their own. Well, and with the tracking, some type of a tracking method.
That's why tracking is just, I know it sounds so old school and it sounds so tedious because you're going to hear about it over and over again. But that's partly why is it's helping you hold yourself accountable so that you can recognize that progress. Because like you said, it's not necessarily going to show up in a lower heart rate all of a sudden, or lower blood pressure, or, an inch or two off your waist all of a sudden.
We wish. I know. That's how we want it. And in society, that's the pace we're used to.
Yes.
We go through the drive-thru, we get the food we want, we can actually pick up a phone. We don't have to leave our house. We can order and it arrives, and Amazon sends us anything we need, and we love
all of that. I love. And by the way, all of that I love. Like, let's not go backwards. I really do love all of that.
But it's created in us this idea that we want things now, we could have things now. And when it comes to fitness and our health, it's a long game. It's a commitment. It's a dedication, and not just, I think it's a love affair with yourself. Like, it's really, you got to love yourself enough
to stay committed.
To it. And I think that that's important to remember, that you're worth it. You're worth that commitment. You're worth that, those habits that need to be developed. You're worth and worthy of the joy that you'll have both when you reach your goals and in the journey of reaching your goals, which is why we want to make it fun and enjoyable.
I like that you're talking about commitment, and even commitment to yourself, because that's truthfully what, when you make a goal, that's what you're doing, is you're making this commitment to yourself, to your health, to your family, to your relationships. When we were talking earlier about exploring like your purpose and your why. And if you don't know what you're committing to, whether it be to your own health or to your family, to your relationships, then it's hard to make that commitment. You don't really know what you're committing to. You might think you're committing to an exercise goal, but that's not what you're committing to. You're committing to your values, to show up to your value. That commitment really is so important, but it has to tie back to your values, to your purpose, or else it's going to be fleeting and you're not going to see the real long-term commitment.